Okay, so today we have joining us Todd Gold, who is a prolific journalist and editor and has collaborated on dozens of high profile memoirs. He is the co author of Drew Barrymore's 1990 autobiography, Little Girl Lost, and we are so excited to have him here. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you for being here. This is so cool. I feel like we should mention to you that we were somewhat familiar with you as a person because of your interviews that you did way back in the 90s on Drew's e-celebrity profile. And I want to say A&E biography as well. Do you recall that?
I don't recall anything, so this is going to be a tough interview.
Amazing.
We're going to take you down memory lane a little bit of like our memory of you and you having no knowledge of us.
Yeah.
It's great.
This is going to be
great.
fun.
Yeah, I think so too. So we wanted to get a little bit into like our history with the book, like when we first remember reading it and just how we're reacting as adults. Yeah, we both got our copies
We pulled
here.
our copies.
So I read it for the
Wait,
first
you
time.
you didn't have hardcovers?
Oh, I have the
Well,
hardcover.
Okay.
My hardcover is in California in storage and climate controlled storage.
Of course.
This is my like copy I
copy.
use, so it's in pretty rough shape. But I read this copy that I'm holding for the first time. I think I was 14 or 15 years old, so I would have been like right around the age was Drew was when she wrote it. I don't have a lot of memories about it, except I was already a huge fan of her. So it was really incredible to get into these details about her life at a time when I was kind of experiencing teenage drama, my own. But since we've been going back to it, the perspective as an adult has been insanely like eye-opening.
No.
But jarring and eye-opening.
Yeah.
But Ashley, go ahead and say what you were gonna say.
Similar. I mean, my funny story, Todd, about this book is that my older cousin, she used to give me her hand-me-down books. She was a big reader just like me. And as a 10-year-old or whatever I was when I got the book, I remember being like, ooh, like drugs? Like, I can't read this. This is scandalous. And so I put it away and I didn't read it for years until I came to know who Drew was and be interested in her life. And then I used to read it like seasonally. Like I would make this like, okay, every Christmas time and every summer I would reread it. I don't know what that was about. I was a weird teenager. But so I've read it dozens of times. And this most recent read through that Anne and I have done as an adult, as a mom, it's very shocking. It really is. Like, I think as a teen, we're just like, whoa, Drew was a badass. And now it's like, wow, this life is unbelievable.
Well, I'd be curious to know two things from what
Mhm,
both of you said, and Anne, I guess especially you.
mhm.
What first attracted you to the book and why'd you read it? And then both of you mentioned that you've read it and reread it as adults, and it's
Mhm.
really eye-opening. What about it is eye-opening, and what about it is so sticky?
Mm.
So that's okay. So that's so interesting. Okay, what was your first question for me? I already forgot.
What made you want
What
to read it? Why
attracted
did
me
you
to it?
identify with that?
So it's interesting because it came from this point of view as a fan of Drew at this time when she was like America's sweetheart, girl next door. And this is like, 1998, 1999. So her image was so different than what she was,
So different.
in this book. So I think I came to it literally as someone who was interested in Drew's background. So it was like I consciously went to go and read this book. I was like, this is part of the lore of this
Yeah.
person that I love. And
I like
yeah.
what you said about what do we find sticky about it now. And
Mhm.
my
And
biggest
eye-opening too. Sorry
yeah.
to interrupt, but sticky, what about it, allows it to thrive and continue to interest you, but also what is eye-opening or what opens your eyes as you reread it?
I would say one of the things would be how do you reconcile this person with who she has become today? That is so fascinating and amazing and inspiring to see her go from like these lowest lows to being who she is now. And
Mhm.
in the book, almost feeling like she didn't know if she had any future. And now it's like, oh my gosh, everything that came afterward is so incredible. That would be one thing. The other thing I have a hard time with is how many adults fail her in her young life. And it just felt like no one was looking out for her. And that's jumped out to me as an adult much more than I ever noticed as a teenager reading it.
Hmm.
And I'll just say about the eye-opening thing, I think similarly to what Ashley was saying, sometimes it gives some perspective on why Drew is the way she is as far as like her self-esteem, like why she is so giving and kind, like comes from this place of like what she went through. And so I think when we are able to like trace back those steps, the way that she is like makes more and more sense. And we like kind of putting these puzzle pieces together of like her, because we're now literally considering ourselves historians. All this time we've been fans, and we were so young, and now we're like interested as full grown adults. Like, we are older than some of these adults who were failing her in this book. Like
Yeah.
it's fascinating. So that's how it's been eye-opening for me, is learning more about this person that I feel like I know a lot about, and then remembering how much more there is. I don't know.
Connecting those dots. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always surprised when it surfaces in the news. I
Hmm.
think there was a piece a year or two ago in the New York Times.
I just reread that.
Somebody wrote about that. I saw on Drew's show that Pink pulled out her hardcover and talked about doing a book report in seventh grade on the book.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And it just it kind of surfaces in all these different ways. And it's now, I think, probably 30 years old, 35 years old.
35.
It
Yeah.
is.
This is the
Yep.
year of 35.
Okay, so 35 years. And I think about the changes in culture and celebrity culture,
Hmm.
and how what Drew represents there, both and how celebrity culture's changed, but how so much of the human heart remains the same in what
Yes.
interests us. And I think those are some of the reasons that it keeps surfacing. But I'm amazed because I look at it. I don't remember that much about it. I
Yeah.
remember certain things very keenly, but I look at it as, the first big project I did, and I'd love chances to redo it and make it better.
We
Um,
totally get that.
yeah,
Yeah,
but it is what it
absolutely.
is, and it seems to be holding up for
I
what
mean,
it
I
is.
don't know if you're aware that it's out of print, but you can't buy a secondhand copy for less than $50. I mean, it usually goes for 75 anywhere you find see it for sale. So it's very coveted still.
Huh. It's
And
interesting.
it's so interesting because I remember seeing the paperback on the shelf at Barnes and
Me
Noble,
too.
and being able to grab it for, $6 or something. Like, I remember that. So I know that I have like this old copy, and then I think I bought one because I was like, oh, I want a fresh one. Like, literally you
Same.
can't find it. Isn't that funny? I was
Yeah.
gonna say
Well,
something
I
else.
remember when it came out and the
Of
excitement,
course.
and because it was the first book I had worked on,
Okay, we didn't
and
know
Yeah.
and it
that.
was very exciting, and it was also very nerve-wracking because we were nervous about the reception, and whether people would be interested or highly critical,
Yeah.
Drew would react. Uh,
Yeah.
or family would react. But all that aside, I told you when I'm going to jump around a little bit. I hope
That's
I'm
Yeah.
great.
disturbing the order of that you wanted this to
Don't worry
unfold.
We
about
don't
it.
mind at all.
But when you first contacted me ages ago, and I told you I don't do interviews and don't ever talk about books, and um, at some point I began reconsidering, be just to try and honor the effort in the work that you two have put into celebrating and talking about the book. And the reason I'm talking to you now is because I think you I'm the privileged one. You know more about it than I do, certainly. But I mentioned at some point in our back and forth that I had a box of from working on this book. I had a box of papers that I hadn't looked at
Yeah.
probably since 1989. The
Wow.
book, I think,
Wow.
came out in February of 1990, but
Yep.
uh, we wrote it in 89, and it took about 6, 7 months for it to be published, to go through the
Mhm.
editorial process. And so I pulled that box out today uh, to give you something different that I know that you don't have,
Oh
and
my gosh.
in your archives. Now
Yeah,
you
the
have
archivists and us are like, oh my gosh.
some of this stuff you do have, but I thought I'd pull it out. And one of the things, and we're talking about the the way culture has evolved and technology and the way we communicate with each other. But I found this notebook. Can you see it?
Yep.
And the let me get something out of my screen. So there's this notebook, and so this is the original dot matrix printout,
Oh, wow.
our working copy that I would write and then give to Drew.
This
And
is like your manuscript, basically.
it's one of them. I'll show you a few. But what I laughed at as I'm looking at this is the first 160 some odd pages, 69 pages. I wrote the page number down. I forgot to put in a page number, so I had to handwrite all the pages. But this
Oh,
this this has our notes and discussion, notes from our discussions as we were going over the manuscript
it's
at some point.
amazing.
I don't know when. So that was kind of fun to find. Uh,
Wow.
Hmm.
and then I'm sure you have this. I found this original People magazine story,
Yeah,
Yep.
which I'm sure you have.
kicked it all off, right?
I kicked it off. And then there was, I think around that same time, there was a National Enquirer story.
We were
Yep.
just speaking about this. Yeah, you start the final chapter of the book with the headline.
Well, yes.
I
Um,
love that you have this in
That's,
your
yeah.
like box of stuff because that's so awesome.
so here's the original story, E.T. Star and Cocaine. And
Yeah.
it's really something to think back that, one of the reasons that I wrote a story on Drew in the first place, if I'm remembering correctly, and was to ward off the tabloids, to
Yeah.
give her a chance to tell her story on her terms,
Mhm.
uh,
Hmm.
rather than the ambush, jump out of the
Yeah.
bushes style of the tabloids. So, I don't think that would happen today.
I
Uh,
was thinking the same thing. I would love to think that we've come to a place where they're not going to do that to a 13-year-old girl. Like that is not going to happen
Right.
anymore because it's just, it's horrible that it happened without her, consent. But then I love that she turned it around and said, okay, let me tell the story.
But
yeah,
also
as I
because
remember, she had very smart people around her who were trying to control it. I really don't know much about what the decision making behind that, other than they wanted to control the story,
yeah,
allow her to tell it on her terms.
kind of like Drew has made it sound like she was intent on doing that, like that
Hmm.
she made that decision.
Yeah,
And
and
it
that her
kind of
people were
sounded
kind
like,
of like, oh boy, what are you going to want to do? And she said, I want to tell the story myself. And they said, yeah, we thought you were going to say that.
Well, yes, and I remember meeting Drew before we did the story. Um,
yeah, what do you remember about that?
so just going to meet her and and talking to her, where she was deciding whether she felt comfortable talking to me. I guess she did
Hmm.
because we ended up talking. And but she, for somebody who was so young,
Hmm.
she was like 15 or 16 at the time. She was very much the boss, in control, and making a lot of her own decisions. That was something that uh, impressed me about her, and that I remember and she said very much the same thing herself, that she was kind of an old soul wrapped in a kid's body,
Yeah.
and that was a big, that was something I took away from that first meeting and subsequent conversations with her, was that
Hmm.
she had a lot of wisdom packed inside her. She had a tremendous heart. There was, for all the pain and hurt she'd endured and the loneliness she'd felt, she had the potential for great giving and great amounts of love and a lot of smarts. And
Mm,
I never had any doubt that she was going to um, someday make up for what she lacked.
mhm,
It didn't guarantee an easy road, and I doubt she would say that she's had an easy road. But
mhm.
I think she's more than made up for what she lacked.
That's awesome. I love knowing that even in this time because, she is really it's dark at times. She's very depressed at times in this book. But I love knowing that that core of who she is and who we know her to be was there even then. Because it is really hard to be like, wow, this is the Drew that we know. She's having such a hard time here. She feels so bad about herself. But I love knowing what you said about her. Her heart was there. Her wisdom was
Mhm,
there. Like she was still who she is, which is
mhm.
amazing and just really lovely
Yeah.
to hear.
I mean, I haven't seen her in person for decades now. Um, I do see her
You're
occasionally
overdue.
on
Yeah.
television, but I have no doubt, I can tell that she grew up and into the person that she wanted to be, that she knew
Mhm,
was available to her if she worked hard. And I think she's like many of us, she got there by trial and error and
mhm.
fearlessness to to continue to move forward and learn from her mistakes.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I mean, she always talks about making those mistakes in front of people,
Hmm.
which is what's so unique about her is that she's been famous for almost her entire life. And, so like this was just one thing that she did in public, so there's like all this interesting stumbling and humbling and, and she really, yeah, it's amazing her resilience. We're always talking about
Yes.
her resilience.
Yeah, and the thing
Um,
that my wife reminded me of, and I didn't really need reminding of, but it's worth mentioning, is she was always wickedly funny. Um,
yeah.
I caught her when she was a teenager and in her early 20s, and she always had a great sense of humor. Uh, she wasn't just self-deprecating, and she was very funny when she'd make fun of herself, but she had a great eye for observation and spotting the funny around
Mhm.
us or around her and sharing that. So that sense of humor, I'm sure, got her through a lot.
Oh, yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's what she says all the time. Like, we always need a little bit of humor with the darkness.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Todd, do you want to kind of explain to us sort of what your process was with her? You showed that notebook, so you would write and sit down with her, or how much of, because we have in the book what is very clearly Todd's voice, and then we have what is Drew's voice, but how much were you involved in the Drew's voice segments?
Uh, they came out of our conversations or, conversations/interviews, just
Mhm.
asking her to run through the chronology and the details of
Mhm.
what happened to her, what she'd gone through. So some of that was very, almost literal translation from the conversations. Others was, a minor massage of what was in the transcript. But
Yeah.
she, I mean, she ultimately had 100%, say over the book. Uh, the process was that we do interviews. Most of the interviews, I think she'd remember this too. We used to go out to a restaurant, a hamburger place, and sit and have a big basket of French fries and talk for a few hours.
Nice.
Do you
Um,
Do you
remember where it
remember
was?
where?
yes, I do. It was a chain. I don't know if it exists anymore, called the Islands.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and so we'd go and order a big basket of fries and some Diet Cokes and talk for a few hours, um,
Amazing.
usually after school. And um,
So you'd be there with your tape recorder just on the
I
table.
would, I would
Yeah.
Amazing.
somewhere those tapes exist. Um,
Wow.
I
but
mean, that would be
yeah,
a dream for us to somehow have
I will
any
call you
like
up when I
yeah.
find them. If I ever do, I'll call you up.
Yeah, we would love like even just the tiniest like peak of that. That's incredible. Like, I mean, if you had to guess how many hours of recording, like if you had to guess, could you have any clue?
Yeah, probably 20,
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a
20
lot.
hours of tape. And I probably have some tapes of whatever old magazine interviews were done with her. Um,
Because you recorded all of that. I guess
Yeah.
that's part of the job, right?
yeah, and I saved them for some
Yeah.
reason. I don't
Amazing.
know. But yeah, there are I have stuff here that might be interesting to share that I was going through. Let's see, what did I find for you related to that? Yeah, so I found some transcript from one of our interviews.
Oh,
Um,
cool. Did you
but
have to transcribe it yourself? Did you like have somebody that could transcribe it for you? That's a lot of work.
I transcribed it myself at the time.
Wow.
Wow.
Uh, I couldn't afford to have somebody
Yeah.
transcribe it. I I will admit, and for safety's sake, it's so the material was so
Yeah.
sensitive,
Sure,
as
yeah.
as it is anytime you're dealing with somebody's life and their secrets.
Absolutely.
Which is there's almost I almost going through this material, there's almost a sense of betrayal, even though I know that some of this is in the book. Uh,
Right.
Sure.
and I was just reading, I was looking for something funny um, to actually share
We'd
because,
love something funny.
as I said, it was very funny. And let's see, I don't want to, but here I just, you saw me, I'm randomly flipping
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
this and I said, what was the situation the last time you saw your dad? Do you remember that? And she says, vividly, very well. We were at our friend's house in LA. And then for some reason, I interrupt her and I say, aren't these fries great? And she says, oh, they're the best. They're so good. And then she starts talking about her dad.
Yeah, we love that kind of, we are all into those little details. We love hearing stuff like that.
So we talk about that. I'm not going to go into reading these interviews um,
Yeah. Yeah, I
because
feel like you'd have to like clear it with her before you could ever like show anything to us, even. Like it's a weird.
I don't know. I just there's so much interesting. I'll show you. I pulled out. There's this. I had no idea what was in this box
I
until
love that it was like a
Treasure
time
chest.
capsule.
until
Yeah.
about an hour ago. And so there's this envelope here, Drew B. It says on it, and I remember it. I remember her giving this to me when we were working on it. And this is full of letters that I guess the people who were in rehab, the kids who were in rehab,
Gave
gave
to
her,
her.
sent to her. And I haven't looked at them probably since she went through them and read them and gave them to me. We were probably looking
Wow.
for something to put in the book. But I'm
Hmm.
not going to open them and read them,
Sure,
which
yeah.
we'd
That's
all like to
very
do
private.
because they belong to her. And if she ever wanted them, I have
Yeah.
no
Wow.
idea what they say. But it's kind of interesting to see that
That's
maybe your
really
kids
interesting.
will want this someday.
Oh my gosh.
What
That's
else?
incredible.
Um, what else did we find here? Uh, as the archivist, I think you'd probably. Oh, here's something that's interesting. Excuse me for ducking out,
No,
It's
take
okay.
your time. We're so excited.
We're loving this.
but here is the first galley.
Oh, wow.
Um, and this is how you got it back in the day. Now books are all electronic, but
Yep.
this was sent. You can see it's oversized. Uh,
Yep.
Yeah.
and this particular galley, it's really interesting. Again, I haven't looked at this for 35, 36 years.
Yeah.
Um, so the process is interesting to me, but knowing what we know about the book now in retrospect. So there's this galley, it's nicely printed, and then you come to uh, a certain part, and there's an addition uh, that is pasted in that is just typewritten. It was obviously uh, the extra chapters or addendum that was added to the.
Yeah.
Oh, because it was like basically done,
It
and then
was
she had
finished,
that
and
other
then
relapse.
Relapse. Yeah.
yes, exactly. So,
That's neat that it's
it was,
bound
That's
that
really
way.
cool. That is
but
really neat.
yeah, I mean, there's no secrets there. It's all in the book. But it's
Yeah.
Yeah,
interesting to look at the process, and it's interesting
totally.
to think about, you know, how many people were helping her at the time. I,
Hmm.
I think I remember a few, a lot of adults around her. I don't remember where her mother was, but when she did relapse, there was her uh,
Her
counselor,
counselors.
Lori, there was Betty, there was
Hmm.
David Crosby and his wife Jan,
Hmm.
there was the editor Jane, there was her publicist, her manager, all these people around her. Uh, I think helping her. I was not
Yeah.
around her.
Good.
Um, when all that happened. They brought me in later, as I recall, to chat with her once it was determined that she wanted to continue to go through with the book
Hmm.
and add the extra material
Yep.
rather than scrap the effort. So then
Oh,
Right.
wow.
brought
I
back in,
can't
so it
believe that
really had
was a
nothing to do with
consideration.
that. But yes, but once again, and I remember being re reunited with her to do the work, that last bit of work. And um, can't remember where we met, but I do remember her being very tentative and
Mhm.
nervous that she had done something wrong or disappointed me. Uh,
Mhm.
and we very quickly got past that and, told the story and ate our French fries and had some laughs. And I remember, feeling very good about her. Somewhere I saw a note, but that I made to myself that I had the sense that she was going to be okay. My note said,
Oh.
I think Drew's going to be okay and survive this and grow up and grow into herself. Something like that I wrote.
Wow.
Oh.
So
You
I feel good that
sensed.
I was right.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
That,
goodness. That's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
You actually told a pretty probably around the same time story that has, I mean, it stuck with me as a teenager when it was on the celebrity profile where you were out to at a restaurant with her and that she showed you on her wrist where she had like cut herself and she said, but I'm okay now. And you said that was like a very Drew way. You knew that she was going to be okay. So it's like probably exactly what the notes you were just reading.
Uh, Good for me.
Yeah,
A little bit of
yeah.
memory still left. Yeah, the thing, is again, I said earlier, the thing I remember most about Drew is such a big heart,
Mhm.
such a great sense of humor, a ton of inner strength and determination to to find herself. I think there was,
Mhm.
you know, I at the time had one child. I was married. I'm still married. Uh,
Mhm.
I have three children. I think I had one at the time we wrote that book and another on the way. And
Okay.
um, and I remember always thinking about how different our lives were. She came to
Mm.
our house a few times, and
Oh.
um, I watched her play with my daughter, who was then about 3 years old. Um,
Oh.
and I saw just the tremendous capacity for affection that Drew had, and
Mhm.
it just it balanced. It was in counterpoint to the the darkness I she articulated, and I often sensed being with her, the loneliness, the darkness,
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
struggles she had at home. Um, and it was always I hadn't been exposed to that in such depth until
Right.
I'd been with her. I'd been exposed to pretty horrible things as a journalist, but
Right.
nothing like that. And I always wondered, you know, as I watched her from afar grow up, uh, if the difficulties she must have had to overcome as a young adult and then as an adult around holidays and those
Mm-hmm.
family times. And
Mm-hmm.
and I thought it was really interesting, but not surprising, how she did overcome it. She built her own family, she built her own company.
Yep.
She ended up, you know, uh, test driving a few husbands and
Yep.
and got some children, and I'm sure she's a fantastic mom who
Right.
I know nothing about her, but as a mother, but I, I would imagine she, is very attuned into
Mm-hmm.
uh, being a mom and what kids need.
I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
I'd love to know how strict she is as a
well, it's
she
funny
is.
that
She
you say that. We were just talking about how in the book, and we want to talk to you about Jade, but in the book, she talks about Jade and it's not a mother daughter, they're friends, they're going to be best friends. And Drew has very, very clearly said that with her daughters, she says, I'm not your friend, I'm your mom. So it's very easy to look and say, this is where that came from. And
she
that's why she's not going to be that
constantly
way.
she constantly talks about her like utter lack of boundaries when she was a child and how she's like learned even what boundaries are. She's like had to learn what that meant to set a boundary. Like she just
Yeah,
didn't her mom set none,
Yeah.
seemingly. Um
right. Yeah, I can't speak to what their life was like,
right.
when I wasn't around, or if we didn't talk about it. But, I think you probably, know more than I do.
We've gotten into it a lot. Actually, one specific thing that relates to the book and Jade is we noticed that Jade is quoted a lot throughout. But did she have much say in what was included in the book otherwise
I I
that you
don't
recall?
recall specifically. I'm
Okay,
going to say that she did,
Yeah.
as Drew's, mom and the adults in
right.
her relationship. I'm sure she read the book. I'd say 100% she read the book and had to give her approval.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Um,
makes sense
so, but she was never around.
for the recording.
Well, she wasn't around for the interviews, and she wasn't around dictating what should be written. That was really, based on the conversations I had with Drew. And as I
Right.
recall, Drew was the one who had the final say. I'm
That's
sure
good
the
to know.
mom had input. And I'm sure there was a manager who read it and a
Yeah, right.
publicist, or, I don't know what other, what others read and what
Hmm.
say others had in the matter, but I'm sure that there was.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's sometimes in the book where you're like, wow, I can't believe they like let that be said about Jade. And then there's other times where you're like, oh, it feels like Jade is like sort of putting her slant on things in this part. So yeah, we are just interested, like how much input did she actually have? And I'm assuming you sat down with her once or twice and got her little nuggets of information.
I'm sure I did. I don't
Yeah.
remember. I do remember Jade being around, and I do remember it being mostly pleasant, never
That's
unpleasant
good.
to me, but there was a lot of stress, between Drew and Jade and
Yeah.
I
at
bet.
times. And that could be typical mother-daughter stuff, Drew not doing her homework because, she'd done something, or it could be something more serious.
Right.
It ran the gamut.
Yeah, I bet.
We were also curious about, if you recall, like things that were maybe omitted from the story. Some of them seemingly maybe small, like, some TV movies she did that are just skipped completely. Or, where we both recently realized, oh, that whole thing with Corey Feldman, like never even gets a mention, her little relationship with him. Um, but we
You
were
said
wondering, are
that,
there
and
reasons for these things or how does that
no,
happen?
no, there's not a reason. Um,
It just wasn't part of the narrative, maybe.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, I can't answer that question. It's funny you mentioned that. As you're mentioning it, I do remember uh I remember Drew going out somewhere with Corey Feldman. I remember being at the house and there was uh there was a dozen or 2 dozen roses in Drew's
Oh,
room that Corey had sent.
oh my goodness.
And Drew was getting dressed to go out. It might have been some awards
It
thing
might
with
have been
The
the Academy
Oscars.
Awards. In the timeline fits. They went together in 1989. So,
yeah, so it could have been that. I don't know what I would have been doing there other than an interview with her or running. Maybe it was running over um, some of the one of the drafts and getting
wow.
Yeah, and she was
direction.
getting ready for the Academy
But
Awards,
I
potentially. That's really interesting.
I do remember her going out with Corey.
It's funny.
But I
This
can't
is
tell you
funny.
why it's omitted or
Yeah.
anything else.
Yeah, you
Right.
don't feel like there were things that like some legal department said, no, cut that out, or we can't include this person's name, or I mean, I'm sure there's all kinds of weird nitty-gritty like that when you do a book like this.
Yeah, it's interesting. I that you bring that up. I think I came across the legal read.
Oh,
Mm,
I came across these these notes that I had. I don't know if you can see,
hmm.
but they're the original chapter outlines. It says chapter one, chapter two, chapter three. Little notes I made to myself uh,
Cool.
on how the book would be organized. I'm so much more fascinated by that than
The process.
the process and that we actually did this and that it was the first one that I did. Uh,
That's
and
cool. We didn't realize it was the first. I
yeah,
love
we didn't
that. I
know
love
that.
knowing that. It makes it like even more special
Hmm.
that that's like, okay, it's Drew Barrymore with Todd Gold. Like, that's a big deal. That must have been a big deal for you.
um,
Um,
it was. And it was a big deal when it made the bestseller list. Uh,
yeah.
and and uh, it's a big deal that people like it and find meaning in it. When it came out, it received all sorts of mixed reviews.
Of
Uh,
course.
many people finding it or criticizing it as exploitative of
Mm,
a teenager, typical Hollywood exploitation. Where are the adults in the room? Shame on the
right.
editors and everyone else. And I'm sure I received my share of criticism for that, and I've blocked it out. I
That's good.
Some of that has merit, and I don't, and some doesn't. It depends.
Hmm.
I just think that over time, it's found an audience. People really appreciate it. It's touched a lot of people. I once checked into a hotel maybe 10 or 15 years ago, and a guy checking me in asked if I was the Todd Gold who had worked on this book, and he said how important it was uh, for various reasons when he was a kid
Wow.
and had read it. And
Cool.
and there's probably a lot of people out there who were touched by it, and as evidenced by the two of you, and that New York Times story,
Yeah.
continues to resonate in some way. You know, I've never sought Drew out to see what she thinks about the book all these years
Mhm.
later. If she doesn't like it, if she's embarrassed by it, if she wishes she'd never done it. Um,
I don't think so.
No,
I think
I don't know how much she's really spoken very specifically to it in more recent years, but she's just kind of like she doesn't regret anything, you know. This is part of her story. I mean,
mhm.
it's a big part, but this
And she
is
calls herself an open book
yeah.
still. So I think it's right in line with who she is that she did this.
And
I
also
mean,
knowing how it did help so many people, I think, after the fact, after it came out kind of more in those years, she spoke about that a lot. Like, I'm so glad that, I got outed by the National Enquirer. That sucked, but I got to turn it around and then help people who were going through similar things.
well,
mhm.
I think, yeah, I think in that respect, and I was going to say that it it reflects who Drew is and, or who she was going to become, but who she was at the time too. She was very interested in helping other people. Uh,
Hmm.
she, I think, had many, you know, deep connections with some of the other teens in the program with her. And
Hmm.
I believe that's probably because she was as open then as she is now,
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
and
And I
willing to
think that
share.
taught her that too. Like she talks about how grueling, in the book, how grueling those sessions were in therapy and how that has made her. And actually, I've been to her live show, and there's something about the way she runs that room when the cameras aren't on that almost feels like a group, like
Yeah, that's
therapy group
she's
circle.
she's made
It's
that comparison. Like that was
Well,
like the
yes.
training ground for the talk show.
she
Hmm.
seems to have liberated herself from many of the, demons of her past by being completely honest,
Hmm.
not,
Hmm.
letting those traumas fester in secret. She's as free. She seems as free as you'd expect. That doesn't mean she doesn't have her deep, dark
Right.
moments, but
Right.
she seems to be an example of somebody, who has acknowledged and embraced the past in a very therapeutic and positive way. I just came across this letters report from People magazine that followed um, the
The
first
issue.
story that
Oh,
was in People magazine, and I'm just reading it again for the first time. This was dated January 20th, 1989, so it's 36 years ago, and it says the young teen's first person story of her alcoholism and drug addiction prompted a higher than average response from our readership. Nearly 90% of respondents applaud the young actress's courageous battle against those addictions and wish her continued success with her recovery, including 13 readers who are themselves recovering from either drug or alcohol misuse.
hmm.
In addition, it appears that Drew's revelations have affected a few of our readers' lives. An anonymous reader writes, after reading the story, my 14-year-old sister came forward to let the family know that she too had a problem with drinking. Like many others, I'm sure we always had the attitude of it would never happen in our family. By sharing her story, Drew allowed us to catch the problem before it got completely out of hand. So that's nice.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So
Positive.
People magazine like sent you that as sort of a here's the follow-up.
Yes, that was the follow-up after that initial story.
That's
That's
really
so
cool. We were
cool.
kind of wondering in my research when we were doing the chapters, I came across that you had done like a sort of similar story for People magazine for David Crosby. Was that how you got connected to Drew? Because he like said, I like Todd, work with him.
It may have been.
Yeah.
I don't remember. That David Crosby story was very memorable. David had just gotten out of jail uh,
Wow.
and overcome, was in the process of overcoming a bad addiction.
Hmm.
He, I remember being in this little small rented house where he lived, and he played me a song on the piano uh, called "Oh Yes I Can,"
Oh yeah, I
uh,
know that song.
which was very beautiful, which became the title song on his second solo album, "Oh Yes I Can." Very profound, powerful moment. I
Amazing.
liked David a lot. It was a strong and lasting connection between us. We'd see each other periodically over the years.
Oh,
I'm sure
And
that's not a coincidence then. As somebody
maybe,
who was like a good, influence in her life at that time. I bet he put in your name. It's like putting a good word for you.
maybe, and if he did, I'm grateful, appreciative. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I remember David being a presence in Drew's life, David and his wife Jan.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's funny when you look back to see, the people who pop up in your life, as helpers or guides, and they aren't always there, but their memory is, or their influence remains. And
Hmm.
David's certainly one of those people.
It's really cool.
That's
Um,
really neat.
do you want to share the story of the really lovely thing that you did for Drew recently that probably all of our listeners know it happened when she got reunited with her childhood stuffed animals, but they probably don't know that you are the reason for that.
Yes. So that's a cute story. Uh, and I wish my daughter was here to tell that
Oh,
story. So my oldest daughter, who I had mentioned earlier, she was 3 years old when I was working with Drew.
yeah.
And I have vivid memories, as I said, of Drew coming over and playing with her. And I think we went out to dinner a couple times, and and it was interesting watching Drew's. But my daughter has vivid memories of Drew
Cool.
being around. Anyway, so she somehow heard, and you may know more about this than I do. She heard that Drew said she didn't have really many artifacts or things from her childhood,
Hmm.
and and my daughter, that daughter now is, I think she's 37 or 38 years old. She's a therapist. She works primarily with women and girls who have experienced trauma or eating
Wow.
disorders, or very,
Wow.
very tough young woman. Um,
Amazing.
but she heard about this, and she remembered that she had a couple stuffed animals that were Drew's, that were left from a large collection that Drew gave me. So shortly after that Corey Feldman date, I'm going to use
Uh-huh.
it as a marker in time. I was at Drew's house, and I think she was cleaning out her bedroom, throwing things out. I don't know why, but she offered me her stuffed animals to take to my daughter.
Wow.
Yeah.
And she put them all in a big green hefty garbage bag. There were probably a dozen and a half animals
Wow.
or
Hmm.
stuffed creatures, and we had two left all these many years later. Uh, I I don't know what else happened. My daughter claims she gave some to Tom Green at one point. Um,
Really?
Give to Drew. So I don't know if
Whoa.
I don't know what the mechanics around that are.
So
Um,
she might have gotten some back at some point, and
Fascinating.
I don't know. But anyway, so Drew didn't have anything. My daughter found it. We had a big pink bear, and we had a little ET doll that had been sitting on the top of a closet in the
Oh my
bedroom that
God.
used to belong to my daughter. And they'd been up there for at least 25 years. Uh,
amazing.
and so I said to her, well, let's give Drew these dolls. Let's get them to her. And so I am friendly with Valerie Bertinelli,
Hmm.
who is on a regular on Drew's show.
Yep.
And I mentioned this to Valerie, and she said, "Oh, I'll happily give these to Drew.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sure she'll love it." And I was nervous that, it was kind of intrusive, or that, she wouldn't love it, that she'd given them away and they were gone for a reason.
No, not true.
But anyway, so Valerie took the bear and the ET doll, and along with a brief note from me saying
Oh.
hello, and a longer note from my daughter,
Oh.
Oh.
uh, and gave them to Drew. And I remember seeing a little video of that
Hmm.
online. I can't recall exactly what happened, but I think it was a hit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
They
was.
absolutely.
appreciated it.
It
And
was, and she could tell she was really touched. And what's interesting is the video of her saying she doesn't have much from her
Yeah.
childhood was related to our birthday surprise for her, where we used our collection to represent 50 years of her life for her 50th birthday
Yeah,
for
they
her
did
show.
that. They did that interview with her saying she didn't have the items from her childhood backstage before she came out and saw everything. So it's a very full circle.
that's great. And
So
what
the
did
reason that happened was
Yeah.
because we did this. What were you going to ask?
I
Sorry.
was going to ask, what artifacts did you provide for her?
Well, she didn't get to spend a lot of time looking at it. And much like how you were like, we'd love to give these items back to her, that's kind of like we're always an open door for that. If she ever said, hey, I want these things, great. But we have like quite a few things, I don't know if you recall when Jade sold a lot of Drew's belongings. Yeah, in the late 90s, she did a huge auction and sold a bunch of items. Mixed emotions about that, but I was able to get my hands on just two little pieces. One was like a ballet outfit, leotard and tights and ballet slippers when she was 3, as Jade's writing in it, Drew, and then like a pen from the Just Say No campaign. um, and yeah, like just things we've collected here and there. Like we have a chair back from the set of Firestarter, and like a letter and a picture that Jade and Drew sent to a publicist once. Just things that she definitely doesn't have. And we kind of recently came to the thought that, like, wow, her daughters might want these one day, and we're happy to hand them over. We're just out here trying to preserve her legacy because she's never saved anything.
Yeah.
And thank God that you were able to reunite her with something so touching.
I think from what I recall of the video, she really seemed to like it, and I hope, I think her kids will like it even more.
Yeah.
Those stuffed animals, they were, I think one was a big pink dancing bear, and the other, as I said, was an ET doll, and
Yep.
I'm sure they went over well.
Oh, and the wild
And it
thing
was
was
fun.
we
It was
found,
fun giving it back.
I bet, and we found the photo evidence, of her in 1987. There's a picture of her in her bedroom and all the stuffed animals around, and there's that distinct bear. It's like, oh my God. And Valerie seemed to enjoy seeing that. She responded to that and was like, oh my gosh, yay.
Yeah, two of the nicest people I know. So
That's so
Incredible.
cool.
I just
what
love
else? What else
that.
you got?
So I guess the last thing I think I'll ask, you've kind of talked about watching Drew grow up, but I want to see if you can summarize what it's been like for you to watch Drew evolve and grow into this icon that she is. What is that like for you, like knowing where she was when you wrote the book?
Well, it's funny because I think she was probably already an icon. She's been an icon
Yeah.
in several incarnations. I mean,
Yep.
there's Gertie in E.T. That's pretty iconic, and
Yeah.
and Kid in Firestarter. That's pretty iconic, and
Right.
and then I I'm not when I think about who Drew is now, or presents herself on TV and what everybody says, I'm just not surprised. I think that's what you get. That's where you end up if you work on yourself and you're open and you decide that your life's work is going to be about sharing uh, your gratitude and
Mhm.
appreciation for this miracle of life with
Yeah.
people, and you approach it with a fearlessness of uh, acknowledging your ups and downs, and especially your downs. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's what I think Drew is so good at, and what people react to, and why her show is a success, and why
Mhm.
it seems like such a natural progression from child actor to adult actress to producer to talk show host. I feel like she uh, had something to say, but was also, unlike so many people, willing to listen and really listen and react to what people say. I know I've read that she's been criticized for sitting too close to people, being too touchy-feely, but I think that's part of the process when you are intent on creating, in front of TV cameras and an audience, a moment of intimacy and
Mhm.
trust, uh,
Mhm.
in getting somebody to have uh, genuine conversation, and
Right.
uh, to draw out real admissions, not stuff that you're going to hear on every talk show, but stuff
Right.
that actually allows those watching and listening to have their aha moments of recognition. And I think because she's such an open book, she's able to do that. She gives those moments of herself, and it allows people to feel comfortable enough to share the same thing. So I'm
Hmm.
not surprised. I mean, that's a long way, but when people have two options, you remain damaged, um or you accept that, all of life is full of light and dark and change, and you embrace that, and you see what's going to happen next, and you try to get better and better, and learn more and more. And I think that's really Drew's gift right now in this
Hmm.
moment that she's having, is she's decided to share all that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
She's finding value. I don't think it's any surprise that she's doing it too with her kids growing up. And she probably, you know, it probably makes for some good table conversation.
I
Uh,
know what we're like, has Olive picked up Little Girl Lost yet? And been like, tell me about this part, Mom. That's
but
how,
But also,
she probably doesn't have to, you
yeah.
know, she's,
yeah,
if she's
Drew
like
probably
most
has
kids,
told her.
she's probably told her, or she looks at her and goes, that's my mom. And she's living her own life.
Yeah.
I'm sure is encouraged, and to have her own, you know, triumphs and mistakes, and figure things out for herself. The,
Hmm.
the advantage she'll have is she's got a really insightful, strong mom, something Drew probably didn't have.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And
So I'm
Drew
not
is
She's,
surprised.
constantly
I,
working
I,
on
I
herself.
think I think Drew's, where you'd want her to be, and more importantly, where she'd
Where
want
she
herself
wants
to
to
be.
be.
yeah.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work, a lot of courage, and a lot of determination to get to where she is. Uh,
Hmm.
and I feel a great deal of affection, even though I haven't seen her for
Right.
tremendously long
Yeah.
time.
Too long,
I
it
feel
sounds
a
like.
great deal of affection for her, and happiness for her. It
Hmm.
just, she's an inspiration,
Hmm.
for real.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's where I take, Little Girl Lost in the book was an important stepping stone in that path. And
Hmm.
you know, so I take a lot of pride in the work we did, in the little placeholder that occupies in her life.
Oh, that's so perfectly
Lovely.
said. That's exactly how we were like, this is just one little part of her life, but it's so important to so many people. And it's just, it makes up who she is.
Well, I think you two should be commended for, devoting so much time to this book and really investigating it. I feel bad that I came upon you late
That's
in the
okay.
game and didn't go through the first 30 chapters with you.
No, it's
And
We'll just have to go back
amazing.
and get our
Yeah.
lingering questions and see if you can pull them out of your notes.
yeah, it's really such an honor to know that you've done this, and taken the time to, focus on this work, and expand on it in
Hmm.
the way tech. I mean, when we did this book, computers were new, desktops were new, the
Right.
iPhone was still 20 some odd years away from being
Right.
invented. The
This
world was
story would
very
be
different.
really different. Yeah, this
Yeah.
story would be really different if there was any form of a cell phone
Or
or
social
social media.
media. Oh my
Imagine
God.
social media in that time. Her
Mm-mm.
story would have been blown way before it was if there was social media. So it's incredible
Well,
for us.
what I
Go
was
ahead.
gonna say is compliment you on taking, this book that was done at a certain point and really expanding the story and being part of it. Now this is part of that literature. It doesn't just belong to me. It's by Ashley and Anne too.
We'll take it. Is that our, like,
Yeah.
can we write it down here now?
I
That's so kind of you to say. Oh my gosh.
we'll
it's
we'll write
true.
the second edition.
Yeah.
Little girl found.
True. I would love to know, given the way we've just been talking about Drew and what her trajectory was, it would be fascinating to know what happened to some of the others who were
Hmm.
in rehab with her. Did
Yeah.
they
Right.
manage to come out as good? What were their paths that they followed?
Hmm.
because again,
Absolutely.
Drew's path, there weren't a lot of adults there to guide and shape her. She had to build this her own structure, her own family, and to
Mhm.
get to where she is today.
She's
Um,
really sort of a miracle when you think about it.
well, she's an inspiration. She's definitely
Hmm.
an inspiration, and part of that is just her willingness to share everything that she's been through and draw it out in others and to show, as I keep saying, life is full of ups and downs. It's constantly changing. We experience the light and dark. We slip up. We triumph, and we learn mostly that we're all pretty much the same. We're all rowing in the same
Mhm.
ocean.
Yeah.
And
Yep. We're all human.
exactly.
We
I
are
think she
all
would love
human.
that.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, Todd, this has been so great. Thank you so much for taking this time to do this with us. We so appreciate it. I know it's a testament to Drew that it pulled you out to do this with us in a way.
Yeah.
It's like maybe it's a testament to our determination to get you to do this. But I think that that's evidence of your affection for her is that maybe you don't do stuff like this, but I'm so glad that you were willing to talk about this and talk about her with us.
Well,
And it's been lovely.
Oh my
thank you
gosh.
very much. Certainly occupies an important place in my life, my career, but more it's really a thank you to both of you. That's the reason I did it, for the time and the effort and the enthusiasm you bring to the book. And as I said, the way that you are extending the story and keeping it alive in 2025. It's fascinating to me to see how a book that was written in 1989, published in 1990, 35 years later is expanded upon, by both of you. So thank
That's
you.
really cool. Thank you so much. Like, what a way to close out this thing we've been working on for a year and a half. It's just the ultimate. Thank you so much. And if you ever
It's
need
so
help
cool.
with that box, you need an archivist to take care of it for you. Anne's here.
You know who to call.
I
You
know
know who to call.
exactly who to call.
It would be a dream for us to just see it. I mean, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you, Todd. We really
Got it.
appreciate getting to meet you and
Okay.
chat with you.
Thank you very much.
Have a great one.
Okay.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Bye.
Bye.